Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel, The College Process. Once again, I'm Ed from Principia Prep, and today, like I do, and every Friday, essentially, I'm going to go back in the comment section, look at all the questions you guys have left here on the channel, and answer each one of your questions individually in video format here, and then put it back on YouTube so everyone has answers to all the questions. So if you're new to the channel, any questions you guys leave on any of the videos here, I go in the comment section, answer all the questions on a Friday, and then upload all the answers on YouTube so that everyone has detailed answers to all the questions. That being said, let's jump right into today's question, which is from 2 weeks ago, because I did miss a Friday here. First question coming in down here. Hi, Ed, I have two questions. Forgive me for dumb questions. There's no dumb questions, don't worry about that. Since my husband and I will be taking out loans every year for 4 to 5 years for our son to go to college, he graduates in 4 years, we'll essentially have 4 separate loans. Okay, so the first question is, obviously every year you shop around for loans. So you never actually go, and you typically don't go with the same lender every year. So every year you guys get a new loan every year. Yes, essentially every year a student going to college, you will have another loan in place. After a student graduates, you can refinance the loans to put them all into one payment. If you don't refinance the loans to put them all into one payment, you will have essentially 4 different loans out there, even if they're the same lender. So yes, essentially you will have multiple loans unless you refinance them. And the next question here, second question, you said, for example, Sally Mae, if you pay back consecutively for 12 months, it could be moved into the student's name, essentially the student's name only as far as the borrower. Won't I then be borrowing again next year, which would start my repayments all over again for next year's loan, so on and so forth. So yes, every time you guys borrow from a lender, whether it be Sally Mae or any of the other lenders that let basically the parent be taken off as a cosigner, yes, once you establish with them their terms regarding them being able to take the parent off as a cosigner, then yes, every year you take out the loan again, you will be back in the same starting point. So if freshman year you took out a loan for, let's say, $10,000 as an example, and you co-signed for that student, and the loan payments were, let's say, $100 a month, just an example, and you made $1,200 in payments, so essentially 12 payments up front for Sally Mae, which is the only loan company to do this, then yes, that loan you can take yourself off and just have the student on the loan as the borrower, and that's it. No parent co-signer. Then next year, second year, sophomore, you take out another $10,000, same situation, you would have to make $1,200 in payments to then take yourself off the loan. And the next question from 11 days ago. Hi, my son is on the quarter system. I have enough money to pay for the first quarter outright without any private loans. Should I wait to take out the private loan reminder quarters for the year? Should I spread out the money I have? Well, the way I would look at it is, since the Federal Reserve is continuing to raise rates, and they're probably not going to stop raising rates, if you do need a loan for this year, academically speaking, I would take out a loan right now as quickly as you can and lock it in for the whole academic year. Then what you can do is utilize any money you have on the sidelines, if it's just for 1 quarter out of, let's say, the 4-quarter period, or obviously semester, fall, spring situation. I would still take out the loan for the entire academic year. Then what I would do is I would take the money I have and then reduce that loan down. So let me give you an example. Let's say I owe $20,000 for the school year, $10,000 for the fall, $10,000 for the spring, or in your situation, $5,000 for each quarter, or for the $20,000 in payment. If I have that first payment available, I'm still fine taking out the loan now for the academic year. And then what you can do is you can take the amount of money you have and then just send it directly to the lender, or you can send it directly to the school and advise the school, any loans money you guys coming in, if I don't need it for this specific period, first quarter or first semester or any terms, hourly, etc., that you have, please send that money back to the lender. The reason I'm looking to take out a loan now isn't so much to cover the first quarter or the first semester. It's to lock in a low rate right now, because rates are going to keep increasing, because the Federal Reserve said they're going to raise rates, not just this month, but potentially a couple more months in a row going forward. So if the Fed's raising rates, that's going to affect mortgages, car loans, it's going to affect student loans, it's going to affect everything, unfortunately. From Nia Watkins is the next question here. Hello, does the subsidized loan carry over from year to year if there is an overage, or does it reduce down 0 at the end of freshman year? The way it works is this. Every loan you guys take out, whether the federal direct loans from the federal government, state loans, private loans, any loan whatsoever, that loan fund must be basically accounted for by the end of the academic year. Let me give you an example. If you guys were to take out, let's say, $20,000 in loans from whatever entity here, and the bill you guys have every semester, let's just use 2 semesters here to make it easy for everybody, a fall and spring semester. If I took out a $20,000 loan, and each semester as a whole, academic year, let's say I owe $15,000. So I owe $15,000 for the year. My loan's $20,000, which means I'm getting $7,500 of my loan each semester going to the school to pay for their tuition, room, board, costs, etc. That extra $2,500 refund must be made whole to either the student or the lender. The school cannot keep it after the spring semester. Let me give you an example from this perspective. That $2,500 in the fall can transfer over to the spring. They can hold it for the spring term. The spring term money cannot go over to the next fall semester. It must be all utilized within the academic year. So whether you take the refund in fall or ask them to push it over to the spring, in that spring term, they must be, or essentially the school is forced to send you the refund check, whatever overage you took out for the student loan. They cannot keep it for the next academic year. Next question here from 10 days ago. Can you recommend me a private student loan without creditworthiness cosigner? Those are going to be very difficult, near impossible to find, to be honest with you. If you don't have a credit-worthy cosigner, someone who has at least like 620 credit score, and a 620 credit score roughly in that range, 600 to 620, I'm going with a Parent Plus loan automatically, because really no other lenders will accept you under a 620. 620, I would say maybe if you're lucky, Sallie Mae, I have seen they do accept cosigners with 610, 620 occasionally, but it's very rare. And obviously, as the tightening happens with the Federal Reserve increasing rates, it's very unlikely the only opportunity you have for student loans in your case situation here, the way it sounds, is looking to go with the Parent Plus loan as the option here. Next question here coming in from Rob. Thank you for the answers, Ed. Any chance you could talk more about the NJ class loan, looking for options other than the Parent Plus loan and high interest rate loan? As far as the NJ class loan, I do like them as a fallback to the private lenders, mainly because of the fact they're starting about 2 points higher than the private lenders. Now, obviously, if you watch the loan video that I put out before, top 5 loans to consider, if you watch the loan video about top 5 student loans, if the private lenders are coming back with crazy rates, something around, depending on your terms, where you're doing interest payments now or principal interest, obviously that's a consideration. If they're coming back with 8, 9, 10% rates, which unfortunately are happening, unfortunately, with some families now, as interest rates keep rising, obviously student loan rates keep rising too. If you're getting those crazy rates, let's say 9 or 10, then yes, I would stay away from the private lenders and I would just go with NJ class loan. Same situation as any other lender. Student takes out the loan, parent co-signs to basically bridge that credit worthiness situation and go forward from there. Really, the NJ class, the only question really comes down to is, do you want to do the 10-year repayment, principal and interest, or you want to extend it all the way to the 20-year repayment where you don't have to make any payments while the student's in school? Those are really the only questions to kind of consider is, what do we feel more comfortable with? And obviously, if you take longer to pay back the loan, the interest rate's going to be higher, unfortunately. Next question here from Melissa. Hi, Ed. We have an aunt who gifted $10,000 check to him, I guess the student, for college use. Would it be better for her to pay the college directly? What would be the financial implications? Well, the way it works is this. Obviously, tax-wise, you want to check with your tax accountant, see how it affects you, because obviously I don't know anything financially about you. But as way it goes, as far as the college is concerned, when it comes to the college, they don't care who pays the bill. It could be the student, the parent, it could be a student loan company, from obviously a student loan being taken out, uncle, aunt, teacher, friend, neighbor. They don't care where the money comes. So the reality is the school's not going to use that against you if somebody else other than the parent is paying for the bill. So I want to look at it from the perspective of, if the aunt pays the school directly rather than lower financial aid, they're not going to lower financial aid. It has absolutely nothing to do with financial aid. So I wouldn't worry about if somebody else is sending in a check to help pay for your student's tuition. It's not going to affect the financial aid situation as far as your availability for aid in that academic year whatsoever. So don't worry about that. Okay, next question here coming in from Sandra from 4 days ago. Sandra's asking, thank you for the helpful information. I'm concerned my son will be 25 in February 2024. He would like to move out of state and go to college as an independent student in fall 2024. He pulled up his credit score and has none. He has never had debt. Will this be a problem with getting a student loan, or will he need a cosigner? I guess the question here. The way it works is this. As far as being independent, the student's automatically going to be at the highest levels of federal loans availability right at the get-go. So if your student's going in, let's say at 24 years old or older, that means the parent's information doesn't count at all on the financial aid forms, the FAFSA, essentially. At that point, that also means that once a student does the FAFSA form, they're automatically, if they're starting off as a freshman, going to be the highest availability of student loans for the federal government, federal direct loans. They'll be offered, instead of $5,500, they'll be offered $9,500 for the academic year. If we're talking sophomore above level, typically requiring a certain amount of credits, if we're talking sophomore above level, then we're looking at you're able to get $10,500 of federal student loans in the student's name if they're independent going in an undergrad program. Now, in addition to that, if they're looking for more loan funds, the private lenders will, in many cases, if the students are roughly around that 25-year age or more, and they do have a job, typically paying an income roughly around, what I've seen at least, $50,000 or so, they'll let the student take out the loans by themselves. If they're nowhere near those situations or they're not working, very unlikely that any lender will provide them any loans on the private side or the state side. They're going to need a cosigner, unfortunately. Next question here is, once your students start applying for scholarships to pay for sophomore year. So if we're talking about the scholarship money they gave us as a freshman, that stays in place. There's no changing that. I would obviously check with the financial aid office and see if there's any additional scholarship available for continuing students, especially if the student did academically well. typically money given to the school by alumni that essentially in some cases for sophomore, junior, or senior year, there might be additional scholarship money available for you guys, but not from the school specifically, typically from an alumni-based donation. Now we're talking about private scholarships, that's different. Private scholarship stuff, you can go online, do this stuff anytime you want. Whether it's College Board, or whether it's Scholly, whether it's scholarships.com, or whether it's Go Mary, any of these websites, obviously, you can be applying for scholarships to the private sector at any point in time. There's no too early, there's no too late, to be honest. Okay, then we have, so we have a guest speaker here. Unfortunately, our son was crying, so I got to hold him while I do the last couple questions here. Hope this doesn't bother you guys, but let's get to the last couple questions here. Down here, 2 days ago. Hi, my daughter is attending college 2023. We're thinking about taking the Parent Plus loan through the feds, but it's 8.05 plus origination fee. Private loan, I can get under 5%, which I think is a no-brainer. Friends of mine are saying go with the federal loans just in case they end up paying it. To be honest, I'm not holding my breath. What are my thoughts? Well, when it comes to the student loan forgiveness programs and everything else, as you've seen in many of my videos, obviously we're hoping and praying essentially for those who do have student loans. Once again, I don't have student loans, so no skin in the game whatsoever. We were hoping the Supreme Court would let it go through. Obviously, it didn't happen. Reality is good, bad, and different. Regardless of what the Biden administration does, unless they control the Senate and the House, it's very unlikely student loan forgiveness is ever going to go through, unfortunately. Whether it's 10,000, 20,000, if you've had Pell grants, etc., it's very unlikely. Now, obviously, the people are talking about federal student loans are being forgiven, but those are for the income-driven programs, and those are difficult to achieve. In some cases, those take 10, 15, 20 plus years to get your loan forgiveness. So the reality is, if you're getting a rate of under 5%, I'd go with the private lenders. I would not hold my breath as far as the federal loans are concerned, because at this point in time, the runway available for them to be able to do student loan forgiveness is very steep. And even if they get a new plan in place, it'll take years and years and years before that plan ever comes to fruition. Next question here is from 2 days ago. Live in Texas from 2 days ago. Thanks, Ed. I guess live in Texas, my house is paid off. Tax value is around 85,000 market value. May go up to 175. Is a paid off truck considered an asset? When it comes to the financial aid forms, as far as vehicles you guys own, I know that on the CSS profile, it does ask you about the vehicles you guys drive. So sometimes parents think, are they using this against us because our car is worth a lot or our house is worth a lot? Most of the time when the only form, by the way, to ask that is the CSS profile. When the CSS profile does ask that, it's very, very rare that schools look at your house, especially look at your cars that you're driving. So I wouldn't be looking at the car or the house as far as assets that are going to be used against you on the CSS profile form. If you're talking about the FAFSA, do not count your truck, do not count your home. Neither of those things should go on the FAFSA form. Neither of those things count on the FAFSA form. And of course, we're down here to the last question here from 5 hours ago. Any information on guaranteed college tuition and how it works? Well, if you're talking about specifically the 529 prepaid plans where you pay the upfront cost for this date's tuition cost, as far as those concerned, I'm not opposed to them if you have a decent idea of where your student's going to school. So that way, obviously, you have the availability of keeping the cost down by prepaying it now. So if you're asking about those, the 529 plans, okay, buddy, 1 second. If you're asking about that, the 529 plans that allow you to essentially prepay for the future cost of education, I'm not opposed to those. I think they're a good idea, but you have to have an idea your student's going in that direction. All right, buddy. Other than that, thank you guys for watching today's video. Obviously, we had a guest speaker here, didn't really speak much, but that being said, if you guys have any questions going forward, you can always just put them here on the channel. Once again, I do answer all your questions every Friday going forward. And other than that, thank you guys for watching today's video. Once again, my name is Ed and Sebastian from Principia. Bye, guys. As well as if you do enjoy today's video, please leave us a like. It does help the channel. As well as on the screen, my contact information. If you guys need help in the process whatsoever, I do Zoom meetings with parents one-on-one to help out with the financial aid or admissions process. Just feel free to text me. That's the easiest way to reach me. That's actually my cell phone number on the screen. Or even just send me an email. Either way, I'll get back to you guys. Other than that, thank you for watching today's video. Once again, my name is Ed from Principia Prep.